I was great at my job. I was the best medic that you could have on. I could drop IVs on people blindfolded with my hands behind my back. Like, I was really good at being a medic. I was told that my life was worthless. I got told by a master chief in the Navy that you're worthless. You're not going to amount to anything. When you leave here, I'll probably hear about you in an obituary in 6 months. And I found a parking lot to sleep in my car. And that started me being homeless. Life is good. There are struggles still, but I don't let the struggles bother me. I know that God's got me, and whatever happens, and it's the way that it's supposed to happen.
So first of all, thank you for your service.
Absolutely. Thank you. I appreciate your support.
And I think you're the first person that I've talked to with this kind of a testimony, hence why it's powerful and that you are much needed.
Sure.
So go ahead and take me back to your time in the military.
Sure. So I'm a former Navy corpsman, so it's a medic in the Navy, but I was stationed with the Marine Corps most of my time in. I was kind of getting med boarded out because of my injuries and just the pain that I was going through because of my injuries and whatnot, and just this depression of not being able to do the job that I signed up for kind of took over, and I ended up getting in trouble, and I got discharged out for kind of getting in trouble a couple of times. I may or may not have cussed out a commissioned officer or two in my time, and got discharged out. It was really
well, let me ask you, why'd you choose medic?
That's a great story, actually. So I have a cousin who was killed in Balad, Iraq in 2007, and I talked to him on a satellite phone the week before he was killed. And I was actually supposed to join the Army with him when he went in, and he was blown up in an IED explosion in Balad, Iraq, and that was kind of it. I had an older brother that's a Marine. He's still a Marine right now, and I had a younger brother that kept swearing that he was going to go in. So that was it. I walked into the Marine recruiting station and said, I want to be a medic.
So you did it kind of in honor of their memory?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and I love my time in. Don't get me wrong. I loved saving lives. I loved being a corpsman, but I went in for the wrong reasons. I didn't go in for myself. I went in for other people, and I think that's where I made my mistakes.
Why is that a wrong reason? That sounds like a good reason to me.
It's not, because my heart wasn't in it, and so I wasn't there fully. And I wasn't committed to this and what was in front of me. I was more concerned about everything else around me instead of what was in front of me at the time. So
okay.
Yeah.
So how many years total were you in?
2.5. I did 2.5 years, and I got injured twice. I got 3 traumatic brain injuries, bad shoulders, bad back. And so now I'm 90% disabled through the VA.
The irony in that, so you go in to be a medic and you get injured.
Yeah.
Okay, but I know the bulk of your story is after
Absolutely.
you get discharged,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So you get discharged. Where are you living? Where do you go?
Sure. So after I got out of the Navy, I went into didn't really know what I was going to do with my life. I had been a medic for so long. None of my certifications crossed over to the civilian world. I wasn't even considered an EMTB, and I could put chest tubes. I could cut people's throats open and put air tubes in them. Like, I could do all this, but nothing crossed over to the civilian world. So I was kind of lost. I didn't know what to do at the time. And I went to go live with a cousin of mine that I had just met probably 6 months prior to that. And I went to go live with her and her husband in
Where at?
Shreveport, Louisiana.
Shreveport. Okay.
Yeah, so I was out there in Shreveport, Louisiana for a little bit. Actually, I was only in Shreveport for 3 weeks, so it ended up not being a good situation. She was a bad alcoholic. He was really into drugs, and he got really abusive towards her one night, and I put a stop to it in more or less terms. And I ended up getting arrested in Shreveport, Louisiana that night, put in handcuffs for defending my cousin and stopping her from getting hurt. The cops asked me my story. They heard her story. Her story wasn't lining up, so they released me and told me to get out of Shreveport, and I did.
That makes me sick.
Yeah. So
you're protecting your own sister?
My cousin, yeah.
Or your cousin. So, but your story doesn't...
Her story didn't line up. My story matched they believed everything that I said from point A to point B, the police officers did.
Was she on your side?
No, my cousin was not on my side. She actually called the cops on me and told the cops that I was beating up her husband and all types of stuff. So I stood outside in a rainstorm and waited for the police to show up. Like I didn't leave, I didn't go anywhere. I stood there and waited.
Interesting.
Yeah, so they put me in handcuffs. They waited. They released me. 2 hours later, I slept in the parking lot of a Walmart in my car until I could leave for Dallas the next morning.
Why'd you go to Dallas?
That's where my mom's parents live.
Okay.
They're from Dallas. Plano, Texas, really is where I went.
Okay.
And so I was in Plano, for the next 2.5, 3 years, just doing door-to-door sales. I was really good at door-to-door sales. As you can tell, I'm a good talker.
Yeah.
What
kind of sales? What were you selling?
Home phone, internet, and cable. I was selling Uverse. So I was really good at selling Uverse.
Never even heard of it.
Yeah, it's AT&T cable. It's their fiber optic cable. Life was really good. I was making good money. I was doing great. I kind of laughed at the fact that the Navy kept telling me I wasn't going to amount to anything when I got discharged. And I just got into a world of vices, alcohol, women, marijuana, whatever it was.
Why were you getting into all those things?
I was depressed.
What were you depressed about? Was it the discharge from the military?
I think the discharge from the military and just that looming fact of what am I going to do now? And have I let my family down? My stepdad's military. I have 2 brothers that were military. Kind of that point. Have I let my parents down? In the back of my mind, I have a terrible relationship with my father. Still don't have a great one right now. And I never got to be around my little brother and my little sister when they were growing up. So just all these things in my mind overwhelming me, and I needed an escape.
Looking back, would you say that most people that do get into alcohol or drugs or vices, it's to mask a deeper wound?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Especially when you get into it as deep as I was getting into it.
So how deep were you?
Oh, I had friends that owned bars, and I wouldn't pay very much for my tabs. I would put it to you like this. I remember one day I got done working at noon, showed up to a bar, slapped $20 on the table and said, "Stop me when this is done." I didn't get done drinking until 2 a.m.
Wow, good friend.
Great friends, terrible friends at the same time.
Yeah.
And so I just kind of kept drinking and drinking and drinking. I entered bad relationship after bad relationship until I brought somebody into what I considered my comfort zone that had already burned me in my past. And
male or female?
Female, yeah.
Okay.
It was an ex-fiance of mine that I had brought back into my life. And I moved her and her son from South Carolina to Texas to be with me. And she ended up cheating on me again, and it sent me into a really bad downward spiral where I honestly considered ending it. What did I do to deserve this? Why am I here? What am I doing? And
do you have any faith at the time? Like, where were you in that?
It's weird because I was raised Lutheran, and I was confirmed in the Lutheran church, and I always had a strong sense of who I was within my faith. But during this time, I didn't talk with Jesus. I didn't.
So nothing surfaces.
No.
What?
Yeah, nothing for me, and it was really hard for me, and it kept going into this spiral where I would get on my feet for a little bit, and then I would fall back even further, and I would get on my feet, and I would fall back even further, and I ended up having to move back here to Colorado with my mom and my stepdad. I was living with them for a while, and then my stepdad just got tired of my nonsense. He got tired of me going out drinking every night and passing out on the porch, going out, doing whatever. I would sleep till 3:00 the next morning or the next day and then go back out and do it all over again. I wasn't working at the time. I had all the money that I had saved up from doing door-to-door sales, and I was just blowing through it.
So you're like making good money.
I was making great money. I was making anywhere from $1,500 to $3,000 a week doing door-to-door
And there was
sales.
no like compass in you or nothing tugging at you that's saying I probably should reel back on some of this sinful behavior.
If it was, I wasn't listening. I didn't
Okay.
want anything to do with it at the time. I always say you have to be willing to listen before you can hear what's being told to you. And I wasn't willing to listen to anything. I was very headstrong in my 20s, and I don't know, I felt bulletproof, I guess, at the time. I had been blown up a couple of times and hadn't died. So, what's alcohol or this going to do to me, Yeah.
What was your darkest day during that season? Did you like
probably when I called my mom and I said goodbye to her?
Why'd you say goodbye to your mom?
It was right after I had found out that Reese was cheating on me again. And
this is the ex-fiance.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And I didn't know what I was going to do at the time. And I called my dad. Yeah, emotionally. I called my dad, said the same thing to him. And this is the first moment that I ever truly connected with my dad. He said, I'll be there tomorrow. And he drove 12 hours nonstop.
From where?
Here.
From Colorado. He drives down to Plano, Texas.
To come get me, put me in a car, and brought me back home.
Okay. And obviously you survived the night.
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
So I can't imagine, and you're a parent now. Could you imagine your child calling you and saying, I don't know if I'm going to make it through the night?
I would drive wherever I had to.
So they did the right thing.
Yeah.
Okay. So your dad comes and gets you. You make the call to your mom.
Yeah, my mom, I told her I need somewhere to stay for a little bit until I can figure it out. I got here. I stayed there 24 hours with her. And then I started bouncing from couch to couch.
Okay, hold on. So dad shows up.
Mm-hmm.
What is the first thing that you say to him or he says to you?
He said, get in the car. That was it.
Were you packed and ready to go?
I didn't have anything.
You didn't have anything?
She threw all my stuff out. She threw all my stuff out, burned all my stuff.
So you guys were living together?
Yeah.
Okay. So ex-fiance, that completely disintegrates.
Yeah.
And dad comes to pick you up and takes you to Colorado. Were your parents married at the time?
They were not. My parents haven't been married since I was 13.
Okay.
So.
Okay, wow, that's a lot. And this is all before the age of 30.
Yeah.
Okay. So you get to Colorado, what happens?
I ended up working downtown for a little bit, and I started drinking again. And I ended up getting in trouble downtown. There was a fight out front of the bar, and I was trying to help the bouncers. And the police came up, and they didn't identify themselves as police officers, and one grabbed me. And I still had a lot of emotional issues from the VA or from the military that I was dealing with. And I threw an elbow without even realizing what was going on, and I hit the cop. And I got arrested on a federal disorderly conduct charge. It was pretty bad. So I had to go and talk to the U.S. attorney, explain to them what happened. And the U.S. attorney gave me 30 days to not get in trouble. If I had 30 days and I didn't get in trouble, they would just wipe my...
A probation, so to speak.
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay.
It was,
Do you have an ankle monitor?
Nope. It was...
Because you never really went.
Self-recall. Yeah, because I had no criminal record. I got in trouble when I was a teenager for a stupid senior prank, but other than that, that was sealed away. And I was a good kid. I was a good adult. I never got in trouble. I didn't even have a DUI. And all the alcoholism that I ever had, thank God I never had a DUI, because I drove more than I ever should have. And there were times that I got myself into trouble, like hitting a curb and shredding both my tires, having to figure out how to get my car back to Plano, Texas. Like, it was terrible. I was bad. And I look back on it now and I'm just like, there's only one way that I'm still here right now. It's because somebody was looking out for me. God was looking out for me.
Do you satisfy your 30 days and you're a good boy?
I did. In that 30 days time, I had been fighting the VA to up my disability. And I went from 20 to 60% disabled in that 30 days time. And when my time, I'll never forget the day. It was October 3rd, 2015, October 3rd, 2015. I got the call from the U.S. attorney saying your 30 days are up. I asked them, can I come get paperwork so I can leave the state? He said, yep. And I left. And I didn't.
You left Colorado.
I did. I went to Arizona. I had a cousin that was living in Arizona. My mom and I talked about it. I was still really depressed over everything. And I needed to be around somebody that wasn't going to make me depressed. So I went to go live with or live out in the same area. I had my own apartment in Tempe, Arizona, and I was living out there. I got hired at GoDaddy, actually, and I was working at GoDaddy, and I was doing really good at GoDaddy.
So life's getting better.
Life was getting better.
Right.
And then something else happened, and I got
What's the something else?
I got into it with a manager at GoDaddy. He was trying to tell me how to sell one thing, and I told him, I know what I'm doing. If you knew how to sell this, you would be sitting in this chair and not over there. And I was very cocky, and got let go, and I was making really good.
Would you say you're a loose cannon?
Sometimes I can be.
I mean, you're past it now.
I'm way past it now. Yeah,
anger issues.
I did. I guess sometimes you still have anger issues. We all got to work through certain things. I think most people that come out of the military with not so great of a time in have some form of an anger issue. So,
well, that's a sad statistic.
Yes, it is. It is a sad statistic.
Why do you say that, though?
Just
you just think it's just too much to process?
The things that we don't get enough support while we're in it. We're looked down upon. Prime example, if you get an injury and you go and get it looked at, your command looks down on it because you're costing money, because now you're not at work where you're supposed to be. Now you have to go get seen by somebody. Now you have to miss more time for work. Now you have to do this. So if you end up having, say a mental issue, you need to go seek some help, mental health issues. Well, now you're pulling away. Now you seem unstable. Can you perform your job? Are you able to do it? And maybe I just needed to go decompress for a little bit, So I think, well, I'd like to say nowadays, the military is a bit better, but I can't guarantee that anything's better. I haven't been in almost 15 years. So,
and that's okay. I mean, this is your story. So take us back. You're in Tempe.
So I'm in Tempe. Now I get let go from GoDaddy. And then I get a phone.
Did you get arrested for that?
No. Nope. They let me go on my own accord. I was a good boy at that point.
Okay.
I picked up everything that I owned and I left. I went to Florida. I broke my lease in Arizona and I just took off and I left.
Wow, you were hopping around a lot.
I traveled. But when I worked for AT&T, I was a national traveling and training director. That's what my life was. I was in a new city every 2 weeks.
Okay.
I didn't stay anywhere for very long.
What city in Florida?
So I moved to Port St. Lucie.
Okay.
So I lived in Port St. Lucie for a bit, and I ended up not moving in with my little brother because his wife wasn't having it, and it was a really bad issue with her. So I moved in with another friend of ours, parents. He lived there at the same time too, and it was just not a great situation. They were into their vices, their marijuanas, their drugs, their whatevers. And it just put me in a more depressive state because I came out there to help my brother and I felt like I wasn't really doing anything to help him. Not only that, I was being exploited by the people that I was living with for money because they found out that I was making money from the VA. So they tried to upcharge me more money for the one little room that I was getting. And it turned into a volatile situation where they tried to stab me with a butcher knife one time. And I called my brother with a bat in my hand and a knife in one hand and said, either you come here or I go to jail.
Wow, a lot of trouble is following you everywhere you're going.
Yeah. So
I mean, be honest. Do you feel you created any of the trouble?
I probably put myself in a lot of those situations. Yeah, absolutely.
And I just ask that because when we look back at seasons of our life, I mean, there's always two sides to every story.
Sure.
But I think as we mature and grow, we can kind of look back after and say,
I feel like I put myself in those situations to an extent. But at the same time, maybe at that time, I didn't really feel like I had any other options.
Yeah.
I wasn't really paying attention to everything that was going on. I wasn't able to step back from the situation and really observe my surroundings. So from there, I left. My brother came and got me out. I put what I could in his house and I took off. I was working in Melbourne, Florida at the time, which is about 2 hours away from Port St. Lucie. And I just drove up there and I found a parking lot to sleep in my car. And that started me being homeless. And I was literally homeless in Florida, sleeping in my car for, I would say, probably 2.5, 3 months until I finally was able to call my mom and tell her what was going on. And her and my stepdad put me up in a hotel. And
wait, I thought you were working and making such good money and you had your disability. So,
but I was in making money. I was spending it all on marijuana and food and
that much
alcohol.
marijuana.
Girl, I was smoking. I made Snoop Dogg look like he just started smoking.
I don't mean to laugh at that, but
no,
that's...
but it's real. It's real. Like
were you high all day long?
Yeah. Like from the moment I woke up, I rolled a blunt before I went to bed so that when I woke up, I didn't have to spend time rolling anything. I could just light away.
So you're living out of your car.
I am.
You're smoking. What else are you doing? You drinking?
Yeah, I was drinking, yeah. But I can honestly say in my 35 years time, I've never done any hard substance. The only thing that I ever did was marijuana. I still smoke, but it's to control my pain and my seizures from the VA.
Okay, so how long are you homeless? And why?
2.5, 3 months, somewhere around that time. 2.5, 3 months, just because I was more embarrassed than anything to
So it was your pride?
Yeah. I couldn't let my pride. It was when I lost my job at the call center. They downsized. And when I lost my job at the call center, that's when I called my mom. And I said, I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know what to do. I've been living in my car for the last 2 months. And she just sat there and cried on the phone with me for like 10, 15 minutes. And she said, I'm going to call your stepdad and we're going to figure it out. And they had me a hotel room within 30 minutes, fully paid for 2 weeks. They paid for a hotel for me for 2 weeks, an extended stay. And yeah, so I was living there in an extended stay.
Thank gosh you had people like that.
Yeah.
Thank God you had people like that in your life, because not everybody gets that.
Absolutely. So from there, I applied for a program called the HUD-VASH program, which is a chronically homeless veterans program where they help subsidize housing for you. They pay for part
our
of
military actually helps vets.
Sometimes in the right programs they do. So I got linked up with them and they got me into an apartment, but I didn't really have anything for the apartment. They put me in an apartment, but I had no furniture. I had nothing. So there was a program that you were allowed to go to this thrift store and pick things out. And then if it didn't get purchased in 30 days, then they would deliver it to your house. And I just didn't know, 30 days is a long time to just be sitting in an empty house with nothing. And I don't have money to go get anything. So at this time I'm a huge wrestling fan, WWE type wrestling. I've been a huge fan since I was a kid.
And it's so lifelike and real.
And Florida is the independent wrestling like mecca. It is the spot for independent wrestling. So I started finding some independent wrestling stuff to go to. And I got linked up with one company called ARW. They've changed their name so many times now. So it was ARW at the time. And they linked me up with another veteran, another Navy vet who's a USS Cole, the bombing of the USS Cole survivor. He's a professional wrestler and a survivor of the USS Cole. So I started talking with him and he told me I should call this other thrift store called Down the Road Thrift. He said it was owned by a veteran. Talk to him, give him a call, see what he's about. Well, I didn't because pride issue.
Yeah.
I started watching somebody on Facebook Live that was in that promotion, in that wrestling community. And he had that thrift store owner on his on his little show on Facebook Live. They were just talking about the upcoming event. He was talking about a veterans event that he was throwing at his thrift store. And I started chatting with him on Facebook and he told me to come down. long story short, he fully furnished my apartment completely free. His name's Jerry Vaughn. He owns down the road thrift store still in Florida. I linked him up with the HUD-VASH program, and we ended up furnishing 545 veterans after that in a 2-year time span
How did you do that?
through the miracle of donations. And I really think through the power of God.
Oh my gosh,
Because
that's awesome.
Every single thing that gets donated to down the road thrift store is pure donations. Jerry doesn't go out and find stuff. It's just people that want to support him and support his veterans. And then he will literally, if a veteran gets sent to him, let them walk through his store and put tags on whatever they want. And then him and I would deliver it.
Wow.
Yeah,
How
so-
many years did that take you, or months to do?
So I was involved with that for almost a year. Almost a year. I was every single day I would go to the thrift store and I would help Jerry out, and he would, give me money here and there for helping him out. You know,
Yeah.
they couldn't afford to give me a lot of money, but it was more of me just giving back to the store that did so much for me and restored my faith in humanity.
Where was your faith at that time? Speaking of which, is it growing? Is it getting any better?
Yes and no. One thing I didn't mention is when I was bouncing from couch to couch here in the Springs, my sister-in-law reached out to me and asked me to go to church with her, and it really, I think, helped me make the right decisions to get me back out of here to allow me to go to Arizona. So I was still streaming Pastor Eric from the church that I attend now, where I was streaming him here and there, but not like.
You're still doing life Brad's way.
I'm still doing life Brad's way.
Okay.
And so I was living in Florida for a while, and I had met the woman that would become my wife while I was living in Arizona. I came back here to visit friends and family. I had the engine in my Subaru swapped by my mechanic out here, and so I came back home to get it, and I ran into
Wait, I
her.
thought you were living in Florida.
Right. Yep. So I was in Arizona when I met her.
Oh, when you met her.
Yep. So this
Okay.
is this backtracking.
This
and
is
all
kind of behind the scenes. You guys were friends. You knew each other.
Right. So
Okay,
I met her
gotcha.
through my sister, and she was one of my sister's friends. And I never really had this rule, like don't talk to my sister's friends because they're my sister's friends. And
Okay. I
so
get
she
that.
just kind of really pursued me. And when I was living in Florida, she texted me and she said, "Hey, I'm all up in your state." And I said, "Well, you're in Florida, question mark?" And I had just moved that
Sure.
weekend. And she was like, "No, I'm in Arizona." She got really upset at me. That was when Hurricane Irma was going to hit. It was that big
Ooh, that
hurricane.
was a big one.
Yeah, it was massive. She was mad at me that I wasn't going to evacuate where I was and whatnot. I said, the locals aren't worried, so I'm not worried. Like, we're fine. We'll be all right. So our first official date was when she came out to Florida. We went to Universal together.
So
and
she comes to visit you
She came to visit me. Just
after hurricane season.
no, this is months and months and months after hurricane
Okay.
season. We'd stop talking for a while, and then we'd start talking again, and we stopped talking for a while, and then all of a sudden she just decided, "I'm going to come visit you." And I said, "All right, well, let's go to Universal. You love Harry Potter. You've never been to Harry
Yeah.
Potter World. Let's go to Universal."
Love that.
And it was magic in a sense since then. So
So sparks fly between
sparks
you two.
fly, and within, I would say, 6 months, I was ready to move from Florida back to Colorado. And
Because
I
she's
did.
in Colorado.
She did. Yep, she was. She was here, and she couldn't leave because she has children from prior relationships. And
Okay.
so I picked up, again, all my things, put my 2 dogs in a moving truck, and Jerry helped me drive out here
The nomad is on the move.
again. And I've been here ever since. That was 2018. And I've been
Wow.
here since then.
So when does God really get a hold of you? Because I can tell that your faith and your countenance it's very different today.
I want to say, and as weird and as cliche as this sounds, the minute I saw my son's face, that God just grabbed my heart and never let go again. When I saw Ryan's face when he was born, there was a lot of complications, and I wasn't sure if he was going to make it. And I sat there, and the first time that I had prayed in a long time.
He was in the womb still.
Yeah, we had to do an emergency C-section. We were getting told that there was going to have to be an emergency C-section, and he had about an 85% chance of surviving.
That's pretty high.
Yeah, but they weren't sure what was going on. And then when they opened him up, his cord was wrapped around his neck, and there was a lot of issues the way that he was positioned. We weren't sure if there were going to be deformities from him because of the way. Long story short, he had flipped himself the wrong way and had punched his arm through my wife's cervix and was like high-fiving nurses and whatnot, which is really bad in the position that he was. He even getting pulled out of her stomach, there could have been a break in the arm, a break in her spine, anything could have happened.
Wow, he's feisty like his dad.
He is the most stubborn-willed child that I have ever met in my life.
But he's healthy.
Yes, so healthy and so smart.
He's born healthy?
He was born healthy, happy.
Tell me what you're thinking when you see his face for the first time. Like what changes?
Everything, really. Everything. I had, even up to that moment, I had, my wife and I were married. We were married for probably about 6-7 months at that time. I had my 2 bonus babies who are 14 and about to be 10.
Mm-hmm.
My stepchildren, I don't call them stepchildren, they're bonus babies. But I didn't really have anything to live for.
Why didn't you feel like you could live for your wife?
I don't know. I didn't. I love my wife. I love everything about my wife. I love the person that she is. I love being around her. But I never felt a connection with another human like I did until I had Ryan.
Okay. Never gave birth to children, but I'll trust you on that.
Yeah. I don't know. There's something that changed. That was that day I stopped smoking cigarettes. I stopped vaping nicotine.
Wow.
Everything about me changed that day.
Why? Why'd you decide to change everything?
I still to this day don't know. Something in my heart touched me. And
did you have the desire for it anymore? Or was it
think-
the sheer willpower of saying, I'm not going to have these things in my life?
I grew up with a bad alcoholic father.
Yeah, me too.
And he never put his hands on me, but mentally was very aggressive
Harsh.
and abusive. And I always wanted to be somebody better, I guess. But when I saw that little boy's face, something about him just calmed everything in me.
Wow.
Yeah. Now, don't get me wrong. He will be the first one to get the anger out of me like that. But when I hear him run up and hug me when I come home from work every day, Daddy, I missed you. You're home. I love you. Look at what I did. It's the best feeling in the world.
So this is a very different life that you're living from the previous Brad days.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So is it fair to say then getting married and having a family was really your pivot?
Yeah, I do think so. I think God put Brooke in my life in more than one time when I was going through a lot of bad things. And then when Brooke and I were going through it, just because I kept letting my depression get to me, he gave me a light, which was Ryan.
Okay.
He gave me something to focus on.
Speak to that depression piece. Where are you at today with that?
I'm actually in the best place that I've ever been. I love my job. I love waking up, hearing my kids. I've never been better, honestly. Being a veteran, seeing the things that I have seen in my life, there's always trauma stirring around in there. It's how I choose to let the trauma affect me now that I don't consider myself being depressed anymore. So,
I mean, we've all heard that phrase, like your mind is the battlefield.
yeah.
Do you feel like you're
Oh
Do
yeah,
you have a good
absolutely.
perspective on what to throw away and what to keep now?
Yeah, absolutely, for sure. I think that for the longest time, I sat there and battled with these demons per se in my mind that just continued to, every time I'd get fired from a job, it was, oh, there you go, you're not going to be able to do anything.
You get triggered.
You just go right back down that. And now I've come to let it go. Like, okay, if I get let go from somewhere, it's not the end of the world. I'll find somewhere new, something else will open up, and I'll be okay. So I it's hard to explain. I just, I put, as cliche as it sounds, I put my faith in God, and I just kind of let it go. Whatever
I mean,
happens,
how everybody
happens.
gets to the other side of it. That's what I'm saying. There's just so many people, and I've talked to many that
Yeah.
they get depressed and they never get out of it, and their story doesn't end well.
No, I've had the unfortunate, in my time, I've buried several friends that didn't make it out on the other side. That their depression took the best of them, and it's an unfortunate fact of life that some people just can't get out of that depressive state. And I think that it ultimately has to do with not wanting to get out of it, because there were plenty of opportunities for me to get out of the depressive state, and I chose not to. I chose to stay at home and be unproductive. I chose to surround myself with the wrong people still. And
Yeah, you once said that to me. You said, I chose to be homeless.
I did.
What percentage of homeless people do you feel are choosing that?
With the opportunities that are out there, I would say a good fair handful of people. Percentage wise, maybe 45% of the people that are out there are choosing to continue to be in that life because they enjoy the carefree lifestyle that they have. They enjoy, maybe they're still involved in drugs, and that's, their motivation every single day is to wake up and find their next high. And so, yeah, I do believe that at least 45% of people are choosing to be in that.
What would you say to 25-year-old Brad now?
Don't pick up the phone when she calls. It's really hard.
Wait, who's she?
The ex.
The ex.
Yeah. It's really hard to look back and say, what would I change? What would I change? What would I do differently? Nothing. I wouldn't do anything differently, because everything that I did got me to this point
Right.
and put me in the mentality that I am today.
I think a lot of people say that, but I know if I could look back and speak to 25-year-old Carrie Ann, I would definitely give her an earful.
Yeah.
Right now.
Yeah, probably. I'd probably give myself an earful, but I don't think that I would change anything. The experiences, the things that I did, the opportunities that I had, the opportunities that I blew and threw away, to the friendships and relationships that I threw away, to the people that I put through hell and stayed with me and came out clean on the other side. I wouldn't change a thing about anything that I did in my life.
Where are you at today with your faith?
Oh, yeah. So I volunteer at our church. I help out with the youth game night on Wednesday night. They do kids church, and it's like a game night and a little program devoted to them. And I volunteer for service projects at the church. I feel like I need to get more involved in like a Bible study on my own within the church, and find other like-minded men to be around, just to kind of help keep me in that direction. But I think that my faith now is better than it was when I was in my youth, going to confirmation and confused why I was being forced to go to this place that I didn't want to be at.
Why do you believe in Jesus?
Why do I believe in Jesus? I believe in Jesus because in my heart, I've always known that there was somebody talking to me, telling me, hey, this is the way that you should come. You should maybe don't do this. And a lot of people say it's your conscience, but I think it's Jesus talking to me. So that's a hard question. And I don't necessarily have
I know I put you on the
the
spot.
correct
Sorry about
answer
that.
for it. No, you're fine. Please don't be sorry about it. I just, everybody believes for different reasons. And, when I was really young, I got in trouble a lot. And with dealing with my dad, I listened to Adventures in Odyssey a lot, which is a focus on the family radio program. It really, what got me wanting to do some sort of radio is the focus on the family program. And just every single message that you would hear from Whit or Connie or whatever, it was good, and it just
Resonated
felt right.
with you?
Yeah, it just felt right. And it's crazy because now as an adult, when I go to church, I'll be dealing with something in my life, in my personal life, and the pastor will be talking about exactly what I'm dealing with in his message, and indirectly, directly, whatever it is, something hits me every single time with what's going on in my life. And it's like the message was specifically designed for me, even though it wasn't. It was.
Right. And I get that. I feel like I have heard so many stories about homeless vets. I don't understand it. I don't understand it at all.
Sure.
So could you speak to the man or woman who is a vet or isn't listed?
Sure.
I don't know if you could.
For me,
can you be homeless when you're enlisted? You can't, right? Because
No.
they take. Okay.
No, because you either live in the barracks or you have subsidized housing. You can't be homeless when you're in service.
So to the retired veteran, right? They're out of the service.
Sure.
If they are facing the depression and they are facing homelessness, how do you speak to that today? Because you're on the other side of it.
So for me, for my instance, I had heard all these terrible stories, and I've even lived my own terrible stories throughout the VA and their processes and what happens through the VA. But there are the programs out there that are there to help the veterans. And I think, for instance, for my aspect, I wasn't given very good civilian training. I was great at my job. I was the best medic that you could have I could drop IVs on people blindfolded with my hands behind my back. Like, I was really good at being a medic. I didn't know how to be a person. I didn't know how to be a human. I was programmed to do one thing: save lives.
And you don't know why you don't feel like you were.
No, I know.
that?
Because I was conditioned. I was conditioned by the military to be one thing. And, your only value is you save lives. That's your value to us. You have no more value to us. You don't have any value in the world. And that's what I was told.
Did you lose your value for saving your own then?
I did. I lost the value of saving my own life because I was told that my life was worthless. I got told by a master chief in the Navy that you're worthless. You're not going to amount to anything. When you leave here, I'll probably hear about you in an obituary in 6 months.
Okay. And you chose to believe it.
I let those words resonate in me, and those words hit me really hard.
I mean, how often do we hear something and we say, okay, yeah, I'm going to believe that, instead of just, taking it
absolutely
and throwing it out.
Absolutely. And I think that if I had gotten better, if I had better leadership and better, even though I was being discharged and being pushed out of the Navy, if I had the right leadership around me that kind of let me know, like, hey, it's going to be okay. You're going to be okay. There are plenty of things to do out there. This isn't the end of the world. I don't think that I would have gone through that depression that I did. There might have been a little bit of sense of failure. You know what I mean? At that point, graduating from Navy boot camp was the only time that my dad had ever told me that he was proud of me. So that was really hard for me to get kicked out. And if I had had good leaderships and mentors around me, I don't think that I would have fallen through that depression that I did.
That makes sense.
Instead, I had people telling me, you're a piece of crap. You're not going to do anything. And I let it resonate in me until the only way to get rid of it was to drink or to go out and party with people that I didn't need to be around.
Do you feel like you understand what God's truth says about who you are today?
I think I'm still figuring out the ultimate plan for me through God's eyes and whatnot. But it's a fun journey. I'll tell you that.
I love that you say it's a fun journey. Gosh.
It is, because the ups and downs, the downs make you appreciate the ups. You know, I've been living in my car before, so you know, I have a different appreciation for everything that I get in my life and everything that's given to me. You never know how much you appreciate little things until you don't know when the next meal that you're going to get to eat is. You sit there and you decide, do I put gas in my car to keep my engine running so I have AC today? Or do I put this $5 in my stomach? You know, those are hard decisions.
Yeah.
Somebody has to make.
I've never been homeless, but I remember visiting Hawaii and living out of a Jeep that had a tent on the roof. And it was fun. It was like, oh, this is adventurous. The thing I didn't plan for is the high percentage of people that are homeless in Hawaii.
Yeah.
And so every morning there were people banging on the tent asking for food and asking for stuff. And that was really sobering.
Yeah.
I feel like just that week that we spent going from area to area to see how many homeless people, it was, it really broke my heart. Asking for food, you just have a glass of water you can give me.
Yeah.
So looking back on that, is there anything that you would have done different? Nothing, huh? Were you amongst like other homeless people?
Sometimes I chose to be around other people just for companionship, but most of the time I kept to myself because of the pride thing. I didn't.
Yeah, I get that.
You know, some of my closest family members didn't even know I was homeless. My little brother was living 2 hours away from me and had no idea.
Do they all know today?
Yeah, I don't hide it from anybody.
Okay. So Jesus walks in the door, he sits down, he looks at you, he says, okay, Brad, I'll give you whatever you want. What's like the one thing right now that you would say, Lord, answer this prayer? Is there anything? Or
security for my children.
Security.
To make sure that my children will always have food on their table.
Okay.
Just to give me the willpower to not go through depression again and continue to be a providing father. That's the only thing I want to be in life at this point.
If you enjoyed this episode of Gritty Glory, I'd be grateful for you to subscribe, like, and share so we can get this out to as many people who need to hear it.